Welcome back to Tales from the PowerAge. How you doing, guys?
Hello,
They're all
people.
good. They're all good. Okay, tonight we're going to be talking about some punk, rap, metal fusion. Were they the first new metal band of all time? Well, maybe they were, but we're going to be talking about the phenomenal classic debut album from Rage Against the Machine. Before we do that, I just want to remind you that we'd love you to get involved through comments. Please give us a sub. It really helps. But also, we chapter everything within this as well. So if there's particular parts that are of interest to you and you haven't got time, you can skip right to it. There is some exciting stuff at the end as well that you might be interested in. Firstly, the Rage Against the X Factor. But secondly, one of us went to see them on one of their first ever dates in the UK. And we'll tell you all about that as well. So this is Rage Against the Machine, a seminal album of the time. Things were changing, early 90s. There is a little bit of confusion of when the album came out in the UK because we've got a flyer which Gav's going to cover in a few minutes that says that it was released early February 1993, but I believe it was actually released in the States in November 1992. So there's a bit of a gap there, which is quite unusual, really. So we'll cover that, and if you know, please let us know in the comments and tell us what your experiences and memories are of this band. So, Gav, should we kick off with the singles?
Sure. And I should know because I was working for the record company at the time. I can't remember. But yeah, very briefly on that point, I remember every Tuesday morning we used to sit and listen to the latest new releases or bands that were coming up. And this came on. I mean, what a job. God. This came up and everyone was looking at me because I was the rock aficionado. And I was genuinely torn, because it sounded like Black Sabbath, but there was rapping over the top, and I hadn't heard anything like that. And I was thinking, what the hell is this? And eventually it took 2 or 3 listens and I totally loved it. But very initially, honestly, I thought, what the hell is this? It's Black Sabbath with rapping over the top. Because I think the only song I heard was Killing in the Name or maybe Bomb Track. Anyway, I had all these because I work for the record company, and I've sold all these because of hard times. So I'm an idiot and I regret it. But anyway, so the first one was a promo with kind of the 3 highlights from the album. And then the first single was Killing in the Name. Then they followed that up with Bullet in the Head. And then the third one, Bomb Track. So I think the second 2 singles were post-album. And the first one was pre-album. It was much more CD single than it was 7-inch or 12-inch. It was just the way it was in the 90s.
Okay, so one of the things that we're not going to do today, we're not going to cover the political connotations because I don't think any of us are really qualified enough to do that. But these were really loaded tracks with loaded lyrics. And it had been building up to this. I think when you think back to Public Enemy, who obviously collaborated with Anthrax, we had obviously the Beastie Boys, a little bit more party before that, NWA, who were there was a real link to the metal community to a lot of this as well. And of course, you also had Metallica from the sort of mid 80s doing really sort of politically focused lyrics as well. So let's get on to the album. The first track, which is Bomb Track. So, Gav, do you want to kick off?
Well, what a great intro where you're playing with your volume controls going, oh, this is a bit quiet. So you turn it up a bit and then it blows your speakers. I love stuff like that. Queen did that with Mustafa years and years earlier. The guy that produced it was called Garth, and he was the son of a famous producer who'd done a lot of big projects, including The Who and Alice Cooper. Garth Richardson's his name, Canadian guy. And I kind of noticed his production later on because he did Biffy Clyro, Nickelback, and Skunk Anansie as well. So he's in the metal world and a load of bands that Jam likes as well. But yeah, I think the whole sound of the whole album is perfect because it's very clear and just sounds brilliant. And later on, when you heard it in the clubs, in the rock clubs, it sounded immense. It really did. So yeah, the Bomb Track in particular, a great opening track, and it told you what they were going to do straight away in terms of the heavy riffing and the political lyrics.
pretty much exactly what Gav said. It's a great album opener, and it just leads you into what the rest of the album's going to be. It's a great start to a very good album.
And to put it into context for me, Dill, you were just saying about what was going on at the time. We had big Suicidal fans. Gabs was a big Suicidal Tendencies fans. We had Suicidal. We had Pantera, who'd been ripping it up big time, and these stepped up, and it was a similar anger, a similar rage. Never has a band been named so aptly as Rage Against the Machine, in my opinion. And it was that similar, but the music took on a whole. It was a different ball game. I know that, I mean, on the record, that there's a big statement saying no samples, keyboards, or synthesizers are used in the making of this record, and they're very clear on that. And I think one of the common denominators with all this is the musicianship, and the way that the producer let all of the instruments breathe in their own spaces. Yeah. We've said this before on some of our other classic albums we've touched on. One thing that's in common is that the producers really let the musicianship come through, and it's never so clear as with this record. That's
a great point. And also the weird stuff too. They didn't suppress the weird stuff. This was a major label release. It was their first major label release, and the producer could have said, "Look, those sounds you're making, Tom, just no, they're ridiculous. What are you doing?
Never had anything like it. I mean,
a proper guitar solo, my friend.
You could argue he was showed the most innovation since Eddie Van Halen. I mean,
without doubt,
the sounds that guitar was making on this album and live were just unbelievable. And to your point, Jam, I was going to read that piece out on the Interstellar.
Yep.
No, it's cool, but you know what? When you first listen to that album, and particularly if you listen to Bullet in the Head, there are sounds that guitar is making that could be a synthesizer. They could be dubbed on, and it just wasn't. And that is, that's what was so mesmerizing about this record for me. But
and the other thing that I just want to, so I know I've got it on that we know where we're at, is that I understand all the lyrics are written by Zach, and the rest of the band, all of the music, all of the band is a collaboration, and you just wonder how much of it came together with them together. I'm sure it's so natural, and it's so
gammy.
It's so free spirited, which again fits in with the persona, fits in with their vibe. There's so much going on, and I just feel that the producer deserves such recognition, as Gav was saying, that he's actually let that formulate into a record that then hit the streets. So
they've got to have played this live in the studio. There's not, on some songs I was noticing, particularly on Killing in the Name, if we're going to go on to that, the tempo shifts, it like old school, like my favorite stuff has a pulse, and it ebbs and flows. And if it goes back to the verse from the chorus of Killing in the Name, it slows down a ton. It's not to a click track on a computer.
No way.
It's a band feeling and breathing and moving. It's bloody brilliant, and I think people connect with that. I think that's something we've lost over time.
There was definitely a punk feel to this album. That underlying punk. If you think back what it must have been like for, say, our parents, my parents were still in their 20s in 1976, 77, the punk scene was happening. And you think about how they must have been thinking, wow, Sex Pistols, The Clash, etc., with these really charged lyrics. And then you've got this sort of 20 years later, incredible, absolutely, 15 years later. So Killing in the Name, I'm sure everyone's heard that tune, and we'll cover a little bit more about that in a while.
Lots of stories connected with that.
And any more comments around this song, apart from it is absolutely brilliant?
The unique selling point was obviously the fact there's only one verse and one chorus, or one verse and one pre-chorus through the whole thing. Which is
very repetitive lyric in this one.
Very unusual and very easy to criticize, I guess. But because it's delivered by Zach in such a passionate way, you kind of forget that it's just that, And obviously, when it comes to the swearing at the end, that just, it depends what you feel about the swearing. But for us at that age, we thought it was bloody brilliant.
Yeah, still do now.
For me, it's
still do now. Yeah, exactly.
Gap's gone.
It's the killer bass line for a start in this, and then you've got the double cowbell. I mean, we love a cowbell, especially me and Gav, but to get a cowbell and then another cowbell at a different note is incredible. It's just ridiculous. To an angst-ridden 20-something, the attitude is just to die for. It's just absolutely mental, this song.
Yeah, and that was a classic in the rock clubs back in the day.
Yeah,
Everybody punching the air and singing that. So let's go to Take the Power Back. And I think we talked about the political lyrics. I think you can start getting a feel and a theme for how this album was going to pan out. Jan, what were your thoughts on this song?
Well, it feels like every song I've made a note about the bass, but we know that. Love the bass. It's really funky. I love the funk aspect and the breakdown.
You got slap bass in a metal song. It's mental.
The funkiness and the breakdown leading into a haphazard guitar solo. It's just such a great vibe. The guitar solo in this is just awesome. For Gappy, then the vocals after the guitar solo remind me of Dave Mustaine until it gets a bit funky again. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that, Gaps, because you're the Mr. Mustaine fan.
Well, the vocals in this is just a proper rap song, isn't it? The rapping in this is just utterly brilliant.
He does a little bit of growly vocals coming out of the which it caught me, it threw me, and I wasn't expecting it, and I was like, it catches me every time because it doesn't sound like him, and it's just like, okay, and then it's straight back into the funky vibe. But yeah, and I've written here, no more lies in capitals. It's brilliant vibe on the back of that.
Okay, so let's get on to Settle for Nothing. Gaps, any thoughts around this one?
There's a totally different vibe on this song to the first three, and it's quite strange because it reminds me of a slowed down Slayer. Especially his vocal, he sounds so much like Tom Araya on this song. It's mad. Yeah, and there's a lovely jazzy type guitar solo in this as well, which is
there is
a bit different to what else. There's, I'm going to say not silly noises, but very strange noises that he's doing for a lot of it. Yeah.
I wanted to highlight that because people could say that he was just had a million pedals and just was mucking around all the time. But he's actually a brilliant player.
No, he is a brilliant player. Brilliant player.
The solo to this, I did note as heaven-like. It's a heaven-like vibe.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And there are a couple of lines that I pulled out of this, which might help with regards to some of the background, but some of the lyrics. A jail cell is freedom from the pain in my home. I thought was pretty profound.
I pulled one out of this as well. If we don't take action now, we'll set them for nothing later. Brilliant.
Yeah. And read the writing on the wall. No one's here to catch me if I fall. And you're like, okay, this the angst and the situation here is pretty serious, but really great lyrics.
Brilliant. Okay, next one was Bullet in the Head. So there's the album. And I know when I bought that, and a little bit more about that in a bit. Bullet in the Head for me, that's my favourite tune of the album. I think it's phenomenal.
Me too.
I used to put this on. I used to live in a house in Birmingham, in Handsworth, which was anyone that knows Birmingham will know that's the hood in Birmingham. So it's a real area of deprivation in parts, and a real area of multiculturalism. And I used to put this on full blast all the time. The street could hear it, the rest of the house could hear it. I loved this tune. It was fantastic. But I'll cover a bit more off about that in a bit. Gaps, you like this song as well, don't you?
Oh, I love this song. You want bass? We got bass on this song. This is the bass line again. It's just absolutely brilliant. The thing about this song is, you close your eyes and you can imagine Ice Cube or anyone from NWA or any other sort of rap band in that era doing this stuff. It sounds just like them doing something over a sort of metal lead.
And it's funny how Tom's linked in with Cypress Hill, or the singer from Cypress Hill, and Chuck D from Public Enemy as well. Now with Prophets, and though you can see that real cohesion where they're all on the sort of the same song sheet. Cypress Hill were a band out at a similar time, but the metalness of this was just so different to anything else out there, and that's probably what caught all of our attention. One of the things,
it's probably more metal than anything else, and you can really bang your head to this one.
I was going to say, if you didn't like the rap or found it a bit unusual, you could probably turn people on with this song because it's a band rocking out, isn't it?
Okay, that's exactly what I was just trying to. I was going to say there's a more straightforward classic rock vibe towards the end, is what I started saying here.
Oh yeah, when he's getting really angry at the end,
and then it ends with shouting vocals, and really does crescendo the end of the album. We talk about records all the time, but the end of side one really does build and finishes.
They do a lot on this album with the build up towards the end of the track, where it gets a little bit more, and a little bit more, and it's got a great ending as well.
And there's some
great endings on this.
Amazing sounds on this tune as well that Tom's getting out of his guitar. Incredible.
Yeah, what is he doing on the guitar? I've written. No idea. No idea.
So
mental.
The start side to Know Your Enemy, Gav.
Oh yeah, again with the, I think it's stereo separation, isn't it? It just starts on the left hand side, I think maybe, and then just piles in with a beautiful bass and drum.
It's got a very traditional metal sounding riff, sort of rainbow-esque riff to start off with.
I've got ZZ Top, because that also reminds me. It reminds me of the boogie. It's got a ZZ Top-esque boogie rhythm to it, which is, I'd say it's got no right being there. It's got every right being there because it's just he's expressing himself, and I just love the way that finds itself in there. Love that bit. Yeah,
it's a great riff.
It's my favourite solo on the album.
Well,
a proper guitar solo on this.
I've compared it to a Steve Vai type guitar solo. That's what I've put in my notes, because it does a sort of meandering. It's just a bit different. It's different.
Yeah, it's different to everything you've heard before.
Yeah.
On this record.
Yeah, I think Tom Morello was personally he's a step up from Stevie Vai. He's just so different and so much innovation with what he was doing compared to anything that came after Eddie Van Halen. In my mind, I just think he's just incredible. So we move on to the next one. Gaps, Wake Up.
Yes, probably my favourite opening riff on the album. Again, a bit different, all on one note, except they're going up sort of semitone, down to semitone. Love it, absolutely brilliant. And another amazing bass line. And if you listen to the guitar licks on this, it's kind of harmonica sounding what he's doing. It's so strange. You could imagine someone on the harmonica doing the lead guitar on this. It's great, brilliant song.
That probably echoes back to Black Sabbath, where there was a harmonica.
Yeah, could do.
Yeah, The Wizard. I was today, funny. Interesting. Okay, let's go to Fist for the Steel. Jam, any comments on this one?
Slower, low drag with a high-pitched screaming guitar. But again, relentless drum and bass. I've got here with a heavy chorus repeat, and I love a heavy chorus repeat. It's just really heavy. Driving it out. No, I like this one.
Great attitude in it. So it's just in your face, this song.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jam, you mentioned earlier the groove and Pantera. And I'm not saying this sounds like Pantera, but it's definitely got a metal groove, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And really. And that was of the era.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we moved to Township Rebellion. I don't know the date exactly, but this was in and around the time that apartheid was being I guess demolished and taken down in South Africa, and Nelson Mandela, etc. So this is another, as they all are, a really politically charged song. So any thoughts on this one, Gav?
Yeah, it's not my favourite on the album, to be honest.
It's the strangest song on the album.
There's always more meat if you get into the lyrics.
Yeah,
but musically, it's not my favourite.
Musically, I put it's back to Funky Town. I put it's Funky Town with funky drums. It's a definite vibe, but again, it's almost like they're trying to fit everything into the one record.
Yeah, it's like two different songs in one. This song, it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love this one. I thought it's
I know this is one of your favourites. Yeah,
it's great. Yeah,
it's also my daughter's favourite on the album.
Yeah,
bizarrely.
I think
why do you like it?
What? Yeah, do you know? I was thinking that. I wondered if it was maybe just I was doing a few jazz clubs as well as the rock clubs at the time as well, and all sorts of. It was a little bit different. And you think about what was out at the time. There's Jamiroquai, wasn't there, in and around that time as well. And I just felt that they were probably pushing the boundaries. So whilst really, really hard, and I just. I don't know. I just like it. I think the lyrics are great as well. So it was just one that really tapped into something you like. It's hard to explain why you like it sometimes.
Well, we said before, we've done a few of these classic album ones now, and when you get a really great album, you're going to find you're going to get more than one start, lots of different sort of aspects. And that's what makes a great album great, is when the musicians and the band can do what the hell they want. And they can put stuff on there that isn't always exactly, doesn't exactly, or just, it's exactly the same. I love that. I love the fact that there's that on there and that you love it, Dill. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. And so did the Punters. I think it sold over 5 million albums. Unbelievable. Yeah. Incredible. When you think of something so off the wall as it was at the time, it was a massive commercial hit. And then finally, Freedom. Any thoughts on this one, Gaps?
Well, it's the longest track on the album, but only by 2 seconds from what we've got there. But it certainly feels a lot longer than Wake Up when you're listening to it. Again, it's a great album ender. It's a very laid back soloing from Tom in this. Again, very musical, very melancholy guitar licks he's got it going in this one. The noises he makes when you think it's going to end, and then it goes back into doing another 2 minutes, and then he does those noises again at the end. No one knows. Well, he knows how he does it, obviously, but I would never even consider trying to make a noise like that on a guitar because I want to play notes. But there you go. That's why he's brilliant and earned loads of money, and I haven't.
I don't think he gets the kudos he deserves, frankly. I genuinely,
100%.
You're
absolutely right.
The recognition or kudos that he deserves. I think he's just phenomenal.
As far as this song's concerned, again, it's another one of those that feels a bit more old school metal. It's got that that old school metal vibe. And if you're going to close out a record with the statement that they've been making throughout it, to end it in the freedom side of things as the last rage at the world, to freedom out with the lyric. Yeah, it fits so really, really well. As if you're listening to a record, which we still were in '92, buying a record and listening to a whole record, like you said, Dill, at your place, you'd put side 2 on, you'd put the needle in, and it'd play to the end. To end the record on this Freedom, I think, again, masterstroke, really cool, really good. Some
great drumming on this song as well, with your rim shots on the snare drum, reminding me a little bit of the Police, and more double cowbelling. We normally say double bass drumming, but it's double cowbelling on this song.
Yeah, he's a very accomplished drummer. Well, they're all great at what they do, clearly.
Okay, excellent. So that's the album. So I'm guessing that's a huge thumbs up from all of us regarding the album. It's just really different. So we normally do, I'll pick our top 5. So Jam, I'm going to hand over to you. You can just give a summary and then we'll go down to what we voted as our top 5.
Oh, we'll just have a little peruse. We've got a little peruse here of, there we go. There's all of our top 5s. Which you can see. There's quite a lot of uniformity, to be honest, on those.
More than any other album we've done, I think.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
I mean, Killing being top on mine and then Bullet for the rest of you guys. Quite an interesting one. I'm surprised that Killing didn't feature higher in all your 3, to be honest. That was the only thing when I saw these. That's the one thing that surprised me. I thought, okay, fair play. Because for me, it's an absolute banging. It's just amazing.
It could be a little bit of overplaying.
Yeah,
I agree with that. That's certainly what I thought.
I still haven't. Yeah, it's still one of those ones. It's one of those overplayed ones which I've heard a zillion times. That is up there with Living on a Prayer and Boys Are Back in Town. Sorry,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
The most. Yeah,
to put Killing in the name.
I know.
With Bon Jovi.
You've got to love our genre. There's certain songs I will never get bored of, and Killing is one of them. But yeah, if we go to that, we've got the top 5, which we like to present. It's always good for you guys to know what the official top 5 tracks are from an album, and this is ours, brought to you from Albums of the PowerAge. And at number 5, this featured highly in mine, but also in Dill and Gappy's. Let's Take the Power Back. And at number 4, featuring in Gappy's, Gav's, and my top 5 is Know Your Enemy. And at number 3, the opening track of the album, featuring in all 3 top 5s, but Gappy's, is Bomb Track. Number 2, the first of our tracks that feature in all of our top 5s. And that's the massive and superb Killing in the Name of. Which means that at number 1, I think you'd have already guessed it from the previous slide, claiming first place in all the top 5s except mine, where it plays second, is Bullet in the Head, official top track of this album from Albums from the PowerAge.
Brilliant.
Cheers,
I think that's it. Thanks, Jam.
Nice one, mate.
I just want to say, Jam's been a real little soldier tonight because he's a little bit under the weather. If you haven't noticed, he's got a bit of a Anyway, he was doing that for effect, but but you did a great job. So well done, mate. So let's go on to the UK dates. I did mention at the front end of the show that one of us managed to get and see him pretty early on.
Wonder who that was.
I'll tell you all about it in 2 secs. What was the first gig, Gav? I think it was. Do you want to just talk us through what happened?
I was trying to piece together what they were doing, and obviously I think the UK record company really realised that this stuff would go down well over here because they were bringing them over all the time. They did a tour in '92 supporting Suicidal Tendencies, which truly regret missing.
Me too.
That would have been amazing. But I think the first headline show in the UK was the Underworld in January '93. And then they did a couple of stints supporting the album release, which we believe, as we said earlier, was in February. So it was February, and they came back in May, or they stayed here, who knows, and did a bunch more, including Brixton Academy, which, you know, already getting to the stage where you headline Brixton Academy and on your first album, on your second tour, is pretty a pretty swift rise to fame.
I mean, from the Underworld, which we know and love, great venue, Camden Town, to go from the Underworld in January, same to then play Brixton Academy in the May.
I mean, that's like AC/DC rise, that from playing 76 to Hammersmith Podium by the end of the year. I mean, that's really
the Underworld, a couple of hundred.
Yeah, totally.
450.
450, and then Brixton Academy is 2,000.
It's a
No, it's more than that. It's at least 4,000.
Yes, 4,000 or 5,000.
I don't know if they sold it
out.
out.
Quite a jump.
And it was a charity gig for the Anti-Nazi League as well, so it's not even cashing in.
Yeah, they've done a lot of that in their career.
Yeah, bless them. That's good.
Quite often you don't remember the date or the time that you bought albums. I know when I bought this album because it was the day after I saw them. So I bought this album on the 17th of February 1993.
Nice.
I was just a little old student in Birmingham, and I'd been out with the lads having a few beers in the afternoon at some student haunts. And I'd spent many an evening over the years at Edwards No. 8, which is now sadly no longer around. What an amazing rock club that was, first and foremost. Amazing place. Had some of the best nights of my life in there. Anyway, I don't know quite how I ended up at the entrance. I asked the guys, the security, and just said, who's on tonight? They said, oh, it's a new band from America, Rage Against the Machine. I said, oh, well, that sounds good. They said, go on, in you go. So I knew him well. They let me in, got him for nothing. So nothing changes there. I knew I was going to be on the even in those days. I may have said this before. I know I've certainly said this to the guys. Sometimes, just sometimes, when you see a band, and it's very rare, you just know they're going to be massive. What I saw that night just blew me away. I could not believe what I was seeing. Look, I was aware of Public Enemy, I was aware of NWA, I was aware of, Metallica, Slayer, all these different bands. I'd never seen energy like it on stage. It was absolutely incredible. Zach jumping around with his hair going everywhere. Tom making sounds like the guitar that I'd never heard. I'd not heard any of these sounds, and they just blew my knackers off. It was just a wall of sound. The crowd were going nuts. It wasn't sold out, by the way. There were enough people in there to make it an amazing atmosphere. I walked out, mouth wide open. I'd had a couple more beers as well whilst in the gig. And came out, went home, just thought, I can't believe what I've just seen. They're going to be massive. Probably got up early the next morning into Birmingham city centre. Yeah, into Virgin Records, I think it was, from memory. There's a brilliant photo there, Gav. And I purchased the album. Got straight back home, back to my student house. And all the student house, they just like indie stuff. It was all Stone Roses, Blur, In Spiral Carpets, etc., etc. Put this on. Oh my gosh, the house was shaking. Absolutely blew them away. It was brilliant, and I've loved it ever since. And I feel so blessed that I got to see them so early in their career, and in one of the first gigs in the UK. So
yeah, I wish I had.
Yeah, what a great story.
Sadly, if I purchased the ticket, I'd probably still have kept the ticket, which would have been brilliant. So if the ticket's probably worth about 50
and a programme.
Yeah, can you imagine? There would have been no programme, but
no, I know.
You could have. There was a funny thing. If you read the advert, which is really interesting, it says the first 10 purchasers of this debut album from each of the listed record stores, and Swordfish is still in Birmingham. That's still open. Basically, got free entry, a laminate pass, and get to meet the band afterwards. That would have been great if only I'd known. But
Very cool.
Anyway, so that's my little story of Rage Against the Machine, and they were great. And I've seen them with Prophets of Rage, Tom with Prophets of Rage, with Chris Cornell as well. I mean, just what a superstar that guy is.
Just on the advert though, London Ulu. Never heard of it. Anyone heard of that?
It's a university.
Yeah.
University of. Oh, okay.
The University of London Uni, I'm guessing.
Right.
Yeah, student union thing, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this was about the time as well, just in Birmingham, the Ocean Colour Scene. They were a big indie band, ended up being quite big. They played our student union. There was only like 30 people in there. It's incredible. And that was probably the same year as this. So, anyway.
Yeah, that was the hop in between. It was Underworld, Ulu, Brixton in a matter of 5 months.
Yeah, mad.
Well, unbelievable.
Completely mad.
So what happened next, Gav?
Well, this is normally the end of the show, but there's more surprises to come. The next album, a few years later, actually, a bit of a gap, was Evil Empire, produced by Brendan O'Brien, who was famous for doing Pearl Jam and a bunch of other kind of grungy bands. He was a protege of Rick Rubin.
And AC/DC.
And AC/DC later on, yeah. He likes the kind of organic sound. I don't think the sound hit the same power that we had with Garth Richardson. And I don't think the songs for me did. I was the only guy, apparently, out of us four that bought this album.
No, I bought it. I did get
it.
it.
Okay, sorry.
I didn't listen to it very much.
Yeah, so it was absolutely fine, but it didn't blow my head off like the first album did. You had Bulls on Parade.
Second album, Syndrome.
Yeah.
Bulls on Parade, which I bought. I think I was probably still at the record company, so it was no great investment at the time because you used to get nice staff sales. But yeah, that was a good song, and that very much did follow the same kind of direction as the first album. What do you reckon then, Jam?
No, it's my views as well. It just wasn't. It was second album Syndrome.
Yeah, and an unfortunate cover.
Yeah,
very strange.
I'm sure there's a reason, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, good. So that was the album, and then they did something pretty cool over in the UK. Well, actually, it was Public Opinion that did this, wasn't it? That brought them back into the public eye. So
probably could only have happened in this country.
Yeah, I think I'm proud to say that.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I'm sure you guys do know about this, but the X Factor was getting Christmas #1s every year, and someone started a campaign to say that we got to stop this. This is not who we are.
Love to know who that was, and if you are watching this, please comment.
I think it was a Facebook campaign, or certainly early social media, and I guess they picked Rage Against the Machine as the ultimate antithesis of X Factor, and they picked Killing in the Name as the ultimate FU to Simon Cowell. So they built this campaign to try and get that song years later to #1. So we're talking 2009 here, and they did it. In case you didn't know, they actually did it. So Rage had a Christmas #1 many years after the album, and there's a quote from Zach there, which I'm not going to read out. You can read for yourselves, but the pride and the rebellion that we showed to get that crap off our Christmas #1's a thing in the UK. It's not.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to add.
Anywhere else,
I was just going to add in there. This is when people would spend money either on the singles or literally CD singles, or actually paying money for music. So this is paying money for. This is when you still you still spent money on a song. And as you said, the X Factor, which they had Simon Cowell, I'm sure took it to the States, but I think also The Voice was run there as opposed to maybe the X Factor. But yeah, this was a massive thing, wasn't it? And every year, whoever won the X Factor, it was done on purpose, and they won it on the
final show would be just before Christmas.
Yeah, and then the song would actually go straight to #1, and it'd always be a big pile of shite. The actual song, and this was This was massive, wasn't it? Brilliant.
This was so brilliant. And then obviously because it got to Christmas #1, it had to be played on the radio and Top of the Pops, and you know, and everybody was nervous about it. Are they going to do the swear bit at the end? There's obviously a radio edit. Are they going to play the radio edit? And I think first time around there was some controversy of the DJ picking the wrong version when it came out, the original Top 40 chart show, and they played the wrong one and had to pull it real quick.
Picked the wrong version. You wonder how that worked out.
Yeah, on purpose.
But typically, if you ask the band to do it, they'll say, "Oh no, we're not going to do. We won't swear. Don't worry about it." And then, I think legend has it,
it's on YouTube. You pop on YouTube, put in Radio 1, and you'll see a clip of them singing in a studio on Radio 1 land, having promised they wouldn't say a swear word. They said plenty. They just played
plenty.
They
so
said,
we love them for that, and you can hear you can see from what Zach's saying there that this is right up their street. You know, this kind of rebellion, this rage against the machine. This typifies, you know, on a, you know, not particularly political, not at all political, but you know, you could tell it was going to float their boat, and they promised at some point that they would come back and do a concert to thank us for it, and then that's exactly what they did. In the summer following, they did a free concert in Finsbury Park, and there's a ticket. And this, guys, if you haven't seen this, go to YouTube. Live at Finsbury Park 2010. Yes, there's a pro shot video. It's so good. And obviously when it comes to this song, Zach does a big monologue about, you know, how the Brits stuck it to the man, and they absolutely loved it. And so yeah, this is something to be proud of.
The victory party to end all victory parties.
Fair play to them. You know, they said they'd come and thank us, and they did.
The thing is, were they actually still a band at this point? Because I can't remember. Or did they come back together just to do this?
Together.
I think they got back together.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's Rage Against the Machine. I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to see any of our live videos, I should need to double check. I think there's some Prophets of Rage with Tom Morello on the live channel, playing from download 2017, I think. So check that out. If there's not, I'll try and find it and get it uploaded for you. But there's loads of other stuff on there.
If there is, I'll link it.
Yeah, definitely.
At the end.
Check it out, and please give that channel a subscribe as well. We'd love it if you.
It's free. It's free.
It's a separate channel, guys. So there's the live channel, subscribe for free, and then there's our channel, this channel, subscribe for free.
Good. Yeah. And on this channel and other socials, you can get in contact with us on Facebook, on Tales from the PowerAge. You can check us out online on www.talesfromthepowerage.com. We're on X, formerly Twitter, on TFTPA. So we normally put lots of nonsense on there. So get involved in that and have a chat with us. Or if you want some merch, you can buy that from redbubble.com merchandise, TFT PowerAge. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Jam, you've been a little soldier. Well done, my son.
Well,
good lad. See you soon. Take care. Bye.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Adios.